1993. St. Genevieve, a town of about 4,500, located at the northernmost part of this Mississippi Valley region. One of the oldest towns west of the Mississippi, many structures in St. Genevieve date back to the 1700s. Although historic, one important element lacking in St. Gen's history was the construction of a protective flood wall. So when the river began to rise, it threatened St. Genevieve early and fast.
Well, we've had 7 floods that we had to sandbag, but this is the first time that it's ever threatened to really get in the store.
45 foot will beat the top of these windows. So we're just gonna let the water come in if it comes in. We've issued an evacuation order for those parts of town that lie within the 500-year floodplain.
The 2 or 3 buildings in the back were all plumbing goods, but we've got it all moved out.
It wants to butt up against the hills again and claim the land that it had years and years back. So it's telling us to get out of its way. It's taken back what we've used all these years.
The push was on to save St. Genevieve and its French colonial heritage.
It's kind of a hopeless situation almost, I guess you could say. It feels kind of, you feel helpless. I mean, a lot of people are putting a lot of effort into trying to save the town, and I hope it works.
Nearly everyone in town pitched in to fill sandbags.
I didn't really want the flood to come, but it came, so I guess I'm trying to help out all I can.
Gotta fight it until we're done. And just stay until they tell us to get out.
And almost immediately, local residents were joined by hundreds from around the country who had heard about St. Genevieve's fight.
It's horrible. I just felt that I needed to be here and to help people out. I feel better by being here than at work right now.
And we thought that we would like to help and fill some sandbags, because it's just, we're in Memphis doing our own thing, but you know, so many people are suffering here that we wanted to just come help.
We had about 250 people that showed up, and they worked real teamwork. I was given a report that everybody just pitched in. There was no sitting around and shooting the breeze or anything. They went to work and they saved the north end.
As the scope of the impending crisis became clear, National Guard troops were dispatched to assist and organize the exhaustive sandbagging effort.
You got to listen to that civilian counterpart, because they've been fighting us since 1735. We came here on Wednesdays. You know, the river's the bear, and every now and then you get a little rat runs up your leg, and you got to address that rat. But you got to keep in the back of your mind, the rat works for the bear. He's a subcontractor for the bear, so you got to deal with that rat, but you don't want to spike up on something and use all your resources, and then everybody burn out.
Together, National Guard members and volunteers were able to construct a huge sandbag levee that spanned nearly the length of the entire town. Often, workers struggle to keep the levee literally inches above the rising river.
If this levee would fail right now, it would be over our heads. We'd be swimming. We'd have to swim.
I don't know. It seems like people's spirits, they stay up better than you think they would.
I won't ever forget this. I believe I wasn't old enough to remember 73, but I just don't think I'll ever forget this one.
Tired and wishing it was all over with more than anything.
Tired, yeah. 12 hours, 16 hours a day. I know we were working here, working all day, and then we'd work till about 11 o'clock at night. Then you go home and you can't sleep, and you lay in bed thinking about what could happen, and get to sleep about 1 in the morning, get up about 6 and do it again.
Before it was over, a number of homes and businesses were flooded, but most agreed the volunteer effort paid off. The floodwater won a few battles, but the spirit of the sandbaggers won the war.
Hey, come on with it.
And despite considerable material damage, most residents around St. Genevieve came away with a renewed sense of pride for their community. Several miles downriver from St. Genevieve lies Kaskaskia Island, part of Randolph County in Illinois. Kaskaskia is no stranger to flooding. In 1973, when the Mississippi River overflowed, the island was devastated. Many of those flooded out never returned.
Something happens and you can do no more. You quit. You have to. You have no choice. That was yesterday. Now you pick up and you go on from today.
20 years later, the residents who did move back found themselves once again surrounded by trouble. Years of threatening floods had toughened the residents of Kaskaskia, but the record water levels during the summer of '93 soon proved too much for the levee protecting the island.
One side of it collapsed, and they attempted to repair it, and it was out of control. Old Man River was coming in.
When the levee finally gave way, some Kaskaskia residents could only watch in shock at the flowing nightmare that would ravage their property.
We look back, we've seen a big wall of water, you know, going up over the top of the levee, and it's I guess, like a massive Niagara Falls.
Some of them were so scared that they didn't let them even have time to put on a pair of shoes.
Some managed to load up what they could and escape just ahead of the water on hastily constructed roads. The water came so fast that those who delayed their escape eventually had to be evacuated by ferry.
Residents of the island were concerned about pets and livestock left behind in their haste to evacuate when the levee broke.
Right now, as you can obviously see, there's no human life over there. However, there's a large amount of livestock still over there that needs to come off. Cattle, we've got livestock on the levees. We have to make sure they're cared for and there's no problems.
Some animals found refuge on their own, and much of the livestock rescued was an attempt to recover an investment.
Many, many homes and farm buildings were destroyed on Kaskaskia when the levee broke. In fact, one report stated that of the 60 or so homes on the island, only 5 were left standing. As with many small towns in the Midwest, Kaskaskia is proud of its past. It was home to the first state capital of Illinois. It's also the home to the Immaculate Conception Church, located in the state's oldest parish dating back to 1675. But the flood of '93 was not impressed with heartland history. As the river eventually began to recede, it was evident by the discoloration on the church just how high the water rose. And inside, devastation. Indeed, the Great Flood of '93 was not kind to the island of Kaskaskia. And the residents, unsure of their future, could only watch and wait